All right, good. All right. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. First order of business is to look at the minutes or review the minutes from the 13th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the 13th as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of the 13th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's that one. All right, next thing on the agenda is the review of the 2025 budget. Sure, let's do that. We have 3 abatements to do. All are pretty non-controversial. Number 1 is the building on Main Street that burned down. So we 26 days, we're valuing the property with the building. And then the rest of the time, we're valuing the property without the building. So the
Yeah, makes
land
sense.
value stays the same. So the total amount to rebate is 1,218.
Make a motion to.
All those in favor? Aye. Now the next one,
Yeah, turn on your microphone.
oh. Oh, is battery in? Battery's in backwards or something. No? Then it's gotta come out.
Saw the picture.
All right, the next 2 abatements are for the Campus World property. The bill got sent to the previous owner. Oh. Oh, it does say when the owner's names were changes that the lot was missed. All right. So anyway, it's 310 for one parcel and 1233. We're abating this ourselves.
I'll make a motion to approve both of the 2 of them. Both of
Yes.
those.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah,
Oh, I mean, we could just, okay.
all right. Good, that's out of the way. All right, can't put us off any longer. Let's look at the budget. Oh, wait, did Jack sign that one?
Yes.
All right. And there's the minutes. You want, you can put those all in that folder.
I will. Couple minutes. Too.
All right, Karina, whenever you're ready, you want us to start? Let's do that. Let's just start at each budget and glance at it. Yeah,
Karina, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Um, so as I was saying, I'm proposing a 4% COLA across the board for all employees. Social Security COLA came in at like 3.2, 3.3. I rounded it up because I feel like we're all feeling it at the grocery still certain product inflation. I rounded it up to 4. This is also equal to what the PD and their union CBA 2025. So it would be uniform across the board that everyone would be getting the 4%. Elected officials went down. The elected officials next year. Oh, okay. This. Right. Okay. I saw that in the election budget. The ballot clerks obviously went down. I forgot about the moderators elected, the supervisors are elected. That and fully explains it. It's only one election next year. So, as far as wages go, because we have kind of reallocated positions once we lost some of our employees in the Carol is not in the planning budget.
Karina, you cut out again. Going around the table.
Brand new battery for you. So it would be myself, Jane, code enforcement, finance, and then a part-time, I think I budgeted 10 hours a week for health officer as well in that budget. So it looks like it's only a 3.27% increase, but it's just because of the kind of restructuring of who's in this budget. So okay. Overtime, I kept flat, and then elected officials obviously went down due to the lack of elections this year. Telephones going forward and utilities, you're going to see a huge jump. That is now, once the PD moves out, we will be responsible for the telephones in the whole building. So this would be the telephone cost to one, now do the whole building, in addition to our phones have been discontinued. We were supposed to transition to the new phone system last year or in 2024, but we held off doing so because we didn't want to do so before the PD moved over. So we wanted to do it in conjunction with the PD with the new company. So that is the number that the PD was using in addition to what we were using upstairs. But we are going with a new company and I'm being provided a quote soon. I confirmed the number of phones that we were expecting to have today. So that number could reduce the next time we meet. But I put that in as a placeholder for now. Okay, so the police department has in their budget the new phone system for over there. Correct. How many phones do we need downstairs in 2025? We are thinking that we are going to move down, if I remember correctly, I think 4 phones downstairs, I think was the number downstairs. Okay, have we determined what that's gonna be used for, that space?
Our initial thoughts were to move planning downstairs and to use it as additional storage space. But the thought was to move planning downstairs, planning and code enforcement.
In code enforcement.
Correct. I think they kind of, even though they're two separate budgets, they kind of go hand in hand. But again, I haven't really wrapped my brain around downstairs because I don't know when downstairs is going to be fruition for me. I think the goal is for BPS to hand over the keys to us at the end of next month sometime. But I think the transition, getting dispatch out of here is going to be a little bit slower than maybe moving the officers over there. So I'm anticipating that they will be fully out of the building, hopefully by early spring next year.
Okay, so we need to leave the phones in through then.
Yes.
Um,
Because so right now, why our phones are so expensive right now is because of the POTS lines, the copper hardwire lines for dispatch, the ones that aren't voice over IP or internet based or cloud based. We will be able to get rid of all those when the PD moves out. So that is a good thing for us. And they also think that when the PD moves over, obviously the PD's phone bill is going to go up because now they're going to have more phones. But they are hoping that on our side of things will be reduced.
all right, for budget purposes, I guess that's okay. I'm just thinking, when it comes time to do that, let's look at what we really need down there in this transition year.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to stick 4 phones downstairs and not use any of them for
no,
the bulk of the year.
no,
Um,
but again, because we're transitioning from like a hardwire phone line to like a voice over IP line, we're going to, unfortunately, like I said, we plan to do it this year, but we didn't do it this year. We're going to need all new phones.
All new phones.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's going to come at unfortunately, a cost to us. Yeah.
Right.
We've talked about also like leasing the phones, kind of like lease to own, because it seems as if the second you buy a phone, they're obsolete anyways, so.
So all the internal wiring of the building will stay the same. We don't have to add any of that, correct?
No, everything will stay the same.
So
If anything, we'll be reducing.
And can we add phones? Say we don't buy anything for downstairs until September, we decide we need 2.
Sure.
We add them at that point.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just picked a month out of thin air, not to say.
Yeah. So what we did is, it's Corey from Statewide. We gave
Sure.
him all of our bills, every single phone bill that we had. So we gave him our Spectrum bill,
Sure.
our Metel bill, our Statewide, every single bill we had. And then he got back to us saying that because so much is moving over to the PD, he just asked, what are you going to need here at
Gotcha.
Town Hall? So that's what we supplied him with
Sure.
today. It's just what we need at Town Hall, including town clerk, tax collector, upstairs, and then what we assume will go downstairs.
Perfect.
So
Good.
like I said, I'm hoping that number reduces for you, but
Me too.
I put in what upstairs and downstairs was paying together as of right now.
okay.
Right.
So
While we're talking about that space.
yes,
We have storage over at the Union Bank building downstairs.
I've actually never even seen that, but yes, we do.
Well, my first question was gonna be, how often do we go over there and,
I've never once been over there and saw that space.
okay, so not very often,
No,
okay.
I don't even know what's in that space. Do we?
Kind of.
Okay.
Were you over there?
No, but I remember when it was moved. I kind of remember what was.
I know it's a lot of older stuff,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't know exactly what.
We're not paying rent on it, obviously.
in
It's-
exchange, we
it's
have
in
an account,
exchange for
so,
having an
yeah.
account.
Right, I think it was $1 a year was the actual lease, but I don't.
Right.
know if
Right.
They bill us for that, or whatever,
Okay.
but basically, no. I'm just, not that there's any rush, for
Mhm.
$1 a year, we can afford it. But I didn't know if
If it's necessary.
if it made sense to bring that over here, or if it's just stuff that we might not touch for another 10 years.
Yeah, I think that when we do move the transition to downstairs, I know this is going to be like an arduous task, but I think we should be very selective about what we move and what we get rid of. There's no point in moving around stuff that is not necessary. The past few months, we've had an employee who was working at the transfer station who was transitioning to part-time to full-time. She was here one day a week helping us clean out the attic. And we got rid of a lot of stuff. So we know that we're in better shape than we were 3 months ago, as she's been sifting and sorting through that. But I think I think it would be beneficial for us to go through the boxes and see what's in those boxes and label them properly, and then have some sort of systematic approach of where certain things go, whether it's planning records or whatnot. And like I said, it's a huge task, but I think if we're going to do it, let's do it right and just not junk up downstairs like the attic is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the perfect time to do it. Nothing gets
Right.
moved downstairs
Until it's been
until it's been gone through, sorted, and we
And
know
it
what it
won't-
is, and we know that
yeah.
we need to keep it.
absolutely.
All
So,
right. We can go back to the budget now.
okay.
Sorry.
So for now, that's where it is. We also never had a line in our budget for internet and communications lines. And so I added that in because I thought it was pretty strange. And also because with the PD moving out, we reached out to Charter Communications and asked them if we could reduce the service that we currently have. And unfortunately, Becky reached out to them for us, and we are in contract with them to keep the same number of static IPs and service that we have until I believe 2026 or the end of 2025. We're still definitely in a contract with them. I think it might be 2026 before we can reduce the services that we have in this building.
But it has to be in this building. We
Mhm.
can't say we're putting in all new ones over there.
No, it has to be in this building.
Hmm.
So that's why that number is there, because that was what we would spend and then also what the PD was spending on internet. Oh, we will. Yeah. Like I said,
30-day notice.
yeah, let's make sure we're letting them know prior to the 30 days, 90 days or whatever it needs to be. Yeah. So that's the full bill for upstairs and downstairs for internet. Moving down, dues, training and travel and conferences, you'll see that that stayed relatively flat. I think it went up by $100.
Yeah.
Based on the governor finances dues. Oh no, the health officers.
Health Officers Association.
Yeah, it went up $7.
NHMA.
Yep. And then NHMA went up slightly as well.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
Contracted services, you're gonna see that some of our contracted services went up slightly. Our audit is was 20,500 last year. It will only be 21,500 this year, but our auditors suggested that we put in a couple extra $1,000. When we do get the $1 million grant from USDA, we will be required to have
That's
a
right.
single audit. So they quoted us about $2,000 for that additional service onto our our annual audit process. So I bumped that up slightly. Vision 8 also went up slightly. You'll see that, though that is just their annual increase for 2025, unfortunately, at the 12%. Same with the cloud hosted Vision 8. We are hoping that either this year or next year will be our last year with Vision, and then we will transition to the Avatar software in either late 25 or 26. We're waiting confirmation from Cindy Perkins, our assessor, to see when would she prefer to do that during the actual reval process, or if we should chip away at that prior to the reval process. So. I didn't know if anyone wanted a replacement surface for the BOS that was zeroed out last year, but I left it at 0 this year, but I didn't know if anyone was in need of a new surface. No. Okay. CCS stayed flat this year. Thank you. We did have to upgrade our antivirus for the $2,200. So that was a slight increase, but for the most part, it remained flat because we had a slight increase last year midstream. So Statewide Communications, that is the company that we're working with to give us the new quote for the new telephone system. So I don't know what that annual service plan will be like with them, because right now they're only servicing the phones, and now they'll be doing the whole phones and the system itself. So that's kind of why that's highlighted. And then Copier lease and maintenance. Our copier is getting older by the second and it is constantly on the fritz. So I bumped that up because we've been seeming to have many maintenance calls on it. And we are also unfortunately in contract with them for another full year till 2026 as well. So, but I bumped it up slightly to account for some of the issues we are having with it.
Do we have a maintenance program with them? So every time that this isn't working,
There are certain things that are covered and there are certain things that are not covered. So yes, we do have a maintenance program with them. This also covers all of our copies as well, our colored copies, and that has seemed to be increasing.
okay.
The only other major increase you're going to see in this kind of bracket of expenditures is the GASB 75. That's something that we have to do every other year, which is the post-retirement, our liability, our post-retirement liability. Last year was just an update year where it was only that $750 or $800. And then this year is our big year, but that's every other year. And then you will see a 4% increase for our website hosting, and that's just their annual increase. Materials and supplies. I did bump up postage slightly, just because it seems as if we are being required more and more so to do certified mailings for whether it's the water report or we recently just sent out the lead and copper noticing requirements. It seems as if that's going to be a reoccurring theme for us. So I just bumped that up slightly. And then office supplies, I did bump up slightly as well. Paper, we seem to go through a lot of paper in this office. And then everything else is relatively flat. So, which that brings our budget up to that almost a 9% increase, but I'm hoping, like I said, we can reduce some of those costs once we get the new telephone quote in.
Okay,
Okay.
that looks good.
Town clerk, you're gonna see a reduction in the town clerk budget, and that's if you look at wages right now. So we last year when we went through the budget, we decided to break it out between like the town clerk and the deputy town clerk. And that deputy town clerk was essentially just our tax collector's hours doing motor vehicle stuff. After talking with Kristen, she would prefer if that's not in her budget because she's not a true deputy town clerk where she's not doing vital records or marriage license or things to that effect. She's really just doing motor vehicle stuff. So we moved those wages into the tax collector line and made the tax collector's budget and made an additional line that says like motor vehicle agent or something. So you'll see that in a future budget. So that's why that was reduced. You'll also see the 4% increase in there. Dues, travels, and conferences. She just bumped up slightly. The town clerk dues went up $20, and then she put an additional $50 in for travel reimbursement based on her expenditures this year. So, the biggest thing that you're going to see in her contracted services lines is that the chem sites annual fee, that is the cemetery record retention annual fee that was never included in her budget last year. So this is what it will be moving forward for that program. And then also you'll see a 15% increase for the interware support for ClerkWorks for the BMSI. That's part of her online registration process. She is getting a quote from Avatar to see if, so then we all could be on Avatar and not just have, so we'll see if that changes, but she is getting a quote for them as well. So we could all be on the same platform for that. And then she never had a line item for her cell phone. So we added what her expenditures per year were in the into that contracted services line as well. And then moving down, materials and supplies, that she reduced slightly by taking out the publications, the motor vehicle blue book, because that is part of the Interware software. So she didn't need it in two spots
Oh,
anymore.
okay, good.
So it nets itself out. So she has a reduction in her budget, but it's basically due to taking the wages from the tax collector out. Any questions?
Mhm.
Tax collector. So this is where you're going to see those wages got added back in. We did take out the deputy tax collector. She has found that she doesn't necessarily need a deputy tax collector. We had Lisa doing that position for a little while, and then she was back up. So last year we kind of paid a little bit of Lisa out of this budget and a little bit of not. But after talking with Christine, she's confident that she can swing it by herself, and she's been doing a great job keeping up. So we just took that $3,000 out of the budget. But obviously it was replaced with the part-time MV agent line. But we also did reduce her hours per week because I think last year we had budgeted her for 24 hours a week, I believe. And she is traditionally just doing 2 days tax collection and the 2 days the part-time for the motor vehicle. So we reduced her hours that she works weekly. So it nets to be essentially about the same. Travels, dues and conferences. She kept that flat. She did ask me to mention that she was unable to go to one of the conferences this year due to a scheduling conflict. She would really like to continue to do that next year on an annual basis, but that's why she didn't get to spend much out of that budget this year.
That's fine.
And then contracted services, you will see that the Avatar annual fee is slightly higher or
Double.
yeah, double than what the BMSI was. But that program is phenomenal in comparison to what we were previously using. So that's the major increase in contracted services. And then materials and supplies, she also kept flat. She has some stuff on order, so you're going to see that expenditure number go up before the end of the year. Continuing on, elections, we've kind of touched base on this already. Election budget was cut in half just due to having one election this year versus 4 elections this past year, so, or next year, so. Everyone's okay with that, we'll just keep on moving on.
Yep.
Legal, you'll see that I bumped up legal. I went from 195 to 115,000. If you remember, over the last few years, we've slowly been chipping away at that. I believe when I came on board,
It was a
in
million.
it was a lot. It's like $250,000 or something crazy. So we've been reducing that year over year over year. Unfortunately, I think we are going to have to bump it back up again next year. We do have one trial set for January. So we know that that's going to be a pretty price tag for us. I think it's scheduled for 7 days in court. So we know that that's going to be a big chunk of money. And then also the planning board general legal, last year we put that in. That was something new that we added in last year just to try to keep the planning board a special spot for the planning board. We budgeted $2,000 last year. We've spent $22,000 to date on the planning board legal fees. So that's why I put $22,000 in there.
I
I
wish.
mean, it's,
Um. Does any of that,
Unfortunately not.
and is this all planning board seeking legal counsel themselves, or is it applicants requesting?
It's a variation of things. It's the attorney's presence at the planning board meetings. We've had a series of planning board meetings over this past year that went 4, 5, 6 hours long. So you're paying for an attorney at $200 an hour to
Does the
sit.
attorney come to every planning board? meeting?
Not every planning board, on request of the planning board.
On request of the planning. board?
Right.
Okay.
So there was also a lot of like correspondence, like attorney's review on things on the planning board's behalf, and then making an opinion on things. There is also some in-house planning stuff where, our town attorney is meeting with TRT staff to discuss an item that's on the planning board's agenda. So it's kind of trifold. It's a mixture of all three, but they're all planning issue related. I would say planning board issue related. And ZBA, not just planning, and ZBA. Yeah, controversial, yeah. Yes, I agree.
And he's pretty dedicated. One of our things was, he was on the phone, he was private spoken,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in his car, like, we need to check into this. Fight.
Yeah,
He does a good job.
He's pretty awesome.
yeah, I would say there was like OJ had said, controversial issues that had a lot of butter concerns, had a lot of potential legal ramifications in the future for us. And I think it was money better spent up front than it was after the fact. Must be something.
I'm just nosy enough to.
So that's what that's the number I put in because that's what we spent to date this year.
You never know.
You never know.
There were two things. Biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Tammy, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Usually they don't complain if they can't hear me, just saying.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Did that-
Yep. Master plan. Yep.
They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to-
Yep.
It goes really well.
Agreed. There was also the road frontage, the South Peak road frontage, whether it was considered a private road or they needed to require road frontage. So that was a multi-meeting long thing. Like I said, there was a couple of, I think, things that we needed to iron out to be able to move forward as a plan for the planning department in some of these major subdivisions. So,
That being said, think that this one, it's tomorrow,
yeah, it's a total. No, like I said, I think we're okay for the moment. But like you said, who knows what the next application will bring? You don't know. So
Mhm.
legal. All right, a big boy. So you'll see, obviously, health insurance, went up, slightly. But I think in comparison to what we were previously paying and what we previously budgeted, we're doing pretty good for being able to
Yeah.
offer what we are offering now in comparison to what we were offering.
Agreed.
To only have a 5% increase, over the year is, I think, kind of a win for us. And
I
think
agree.
the
Yeah.
employees are extremely happy. So, union, you'll see, went down very slightly, but that's also just because they it's starting midstream this year. They will go up 2% to have to their contribution went up because
Oh,
that was
right,
part of the
right.
CBA that
Yep.
every year over those 3 years their contribution would go up slightly. So life insurance, you'll see that went down lately. I don't know what happened last year, why we budgeted that figure, but I had Becky help me with the calculations this year and in comparison to what we were actually paying in the bills, and that 10.9 is a more reflective number of what we should be spending next year. So same with disability insurance. I don't know if we were maybe accounting for some vacancies and maybe family plans or whatnot, but that went down slightly as well. The big jump you're going to see is in the dental plan, and that's because we are now offering the dental plan to the full family versus the single employee as part of the health insurance chains. FICA went down slightly, but again, it's based on our better comparison of what we're actually paying per year. And so we're confident that we could reduce that figure. So same with Medicare. New Hampshire retirement, you'll see that those numbers are highlighted. The numbers that I am recommending right now are the numbers that I calculated. I want Becky to double check my figures before those numbers are set in stone, but I'm pretty confident that they're not going to sway too much one way or the other. I just wanted to ensure that someone else puts their eyes on them and it's not just me.
Sure.
Those are big numbers. And you'll see one went down by 4.9 and one went up by 4.9. So it's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
And then workers' comp, that's the new figure we received from Primex, unfortunately, that the 12% increase. So, but overall, total personnel only went up by 1.33%. So. Moving on to planning. You'll see the wages were just the COLA for the town planner. The recording secretary, our planning assistant is now doing the minutes recording for us. So we don't need to budget the amount of hours that were being previously done to for the minutes recorder that we previously had. Yes, because that previously position was split between planning department and executive budget. And so now it's all in planning because that's her role as the planning assistant and not part-time tax collector or part-time finance assistant. She's 100% planning. Training and expenses, I left that at 1,500. If we all remember, we had a vacancy for nearly 6-7 months in the planning department in 2 different positions. So we're hoping that we'll be able to attend more seminars next year. So I kept it at the 1,500. The dues, we haven't received our NCC dues for 2025 yet. We've reached out. We're hoping to get them shortly. So that's why I just highlighted it and I just put in what we paid last year as a placeholder. Same with contracted services. I did bump up engineering and technical review meetings. It seems as if we are slightly over in that last year. I think I actually bumped that down from 25 last year. I'm bumping it back up to 25 this year, just based on we did have a lot of controversial planning issues in-house that required the town engineer on the town's dime and not necessarily on the applicant's dime. So I did bump that up slightly. You will see that I did keep the tax map stuff, the Access GIS stuff. I haven't received updated figures from them yet, so that's why that's all highlighted. I anticipate a 5% in at least the tax map maintenance, so that's why I put that in there, but those figures will be confirmed sooner rather than later. And then the short-term rental management, that is our new quote for 2025 for Granicus. So, yeah. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting to get you it, sorry.
What was the revenue for that? Do you know?
I think we brought in, well, so it's going to be slightly skewed this year because they sent out renewal reminders within the last month, and we've had a lot of renewals for 2025 in the last week or so. So our number is going to be.
Do you know what it was prior to that?
It was like 43, I believe.
Prior to that,
Yes.
roughly.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, absolutely
Okay.
not. We're not losing money. No. I believe so. Did you not receive it? They didn't, right, but they did, I believe they sent the email out, yes, because we've had on the. It was an email. Check your junk. Renewal notices? We've never have.
Because obviously we have one that didn't get it.
Sure, sure. We've had hundreds of renewals.
So maybe we talk to them about
Not hundreds, but-
possibly sending snail mail notices to the remaining after X amount of
After-
date, X,
yeah.
X date.
Yeah, we can look
Just
into
at
that.
December 15 or something, whatever. At that point, you send out snail mail reminders. Or, pick a date. I don't,
We'll figure out something. We are having an issue with the reminders too, because obviously they sent out the reminders and then we had a huge influx of people go to the system. The system crashed.
of course it did.
Of course it did. So then they had to figure out what the error that was happening, same thing that happened previous
Yeah.
the last time, the credit card processing error. We're hoping that that has been resolved. We've been in contact with a bunch of people who have got either double charged because they tried to do it multiple times and then they processed every single one they got double charged. So we've had a little snafu with it in the last few weeks, but the notices did go out. But yes, we'll look into either sending out another mass email or just a general reminder notice to everyone that it's time to register again.
Excuse me? I'm not hearing OJ now.
Oh, good. Here.
If there's anyone new.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear him now, Becky?
Becky,
I
can you hear
can
me?
now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but Jane will appreciate this.
Yes, she will. That's for sure.
All right, I'll look later, but I'm back to November 7th and don't see anything.
Search it.
I think it was before that. I think it was like November 1st, because I think it was at a
Search
60-day
brackets,
mark, and
search it.
30-day mark.
Post compliance.
Post compliance. Yep.
November 6th.
Yep. there
Move
you
it
go.
to your inbox right now while you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I think they're scheduled to be sent out at a 60-day and a 30-day, but that was like what we originally established.
Gotcha.
So we're going to have to tweak that next year because we're always going to have this mass influx in the last month. And we kind of want the revenue to come in the same year that we're
That we're
expending it.
charging for. Yeah.
It is a good thing that we're only being charged quarterly, so we can kind of make up the difference. But we'll have to tweak that next year. Like I said, we had a mass influx of people and then the system crashed and then people were trying and trying again and trying again and trying again. And then they would process all 4 of their payments.
Perfect.
So it was great. We're having a lot of fun. Still working better
they
than it was
send-
previously.
Can they send those emails out staggered? Like do,
like
do
20
the
first
first
100,
20%,
yeah.
20%, and
That's a thought.
do it every 2 weeks.
That's a thought.
Then the system won't all be, it won't all happen in 1 week.
I can definitely ask them.
All right.
But yes, we are definitely making revenue. It's covering the cost of the system as a whole. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Can't ask for more than that.
No. Printing materials and supplies, we did bump up the printing because we split the printing costs between the executive and the planning department, and the planning department does make more copies than the executive department. So we did bump that up slightly. We also bumped up supplies and equipment in the event that when we move downstairs, we want to be able to make sure that we have whatever we need to potentially either buy some shelving or whatnot,
Mhm.
or some of those cardboard boxes, that you could put the labels on with what maps inside type thing. So. And then that brings the planning department's budget up the 19%, but that is going to be due because of the wages that.
And all the wages
all the
in here.
wages that we had back. in.
That's 32 of the $38,000 increase.
Increase, right.
So,
And it really is just reallocation of what department it's being allocated to.
All right.
Okay,
Town hall.
town hall, the CCTV thing, we took that out of the town hall budget last year and put it into a capital reserve. I just left the line there to see it. I don't know, we'll probably delete it next year after not having it funded again. Electricity, we left at the 19,000. As you can see, we're pretty much on point for that. We got another bill coming in and maybe two bills, depending on the way the cycle falls. But we think we'll be pretty close to that for town hall. Similar to propane and heating fuel, we just started using the heat again, so we'll get a couple of big bills before the end of the year, but we should be okay with that $6,000. Materials and supplies, we kept it the same, 4,000. We did recently get a new cleaning crew in-house. We imagine that they will go through cleaning supplies a little bit faster than our previous one. Just enough said. And then, as you can see, when you go down to building and property maintenance, the cleaning is now will be for the whole building and not just for upstairs. So that's why it's the biggest jump. But also the new company is slightly more expensive. It was slightly higher. I believe the PD was budgeting 12,000. If I remember correctly. Police, yeah. So they were previously
12,000.
12,000, yeah. So they were at 12 and we were at 8, so that was a total of 20, right? They got a new, you got it. And then everything else other than the AC heating units and replacements, I did bump that up. That is what we spent this year to replace the one unit. Unfortunately, those units are just increasing in price, and unfortunately, the labor associated with it is also.
So you've replaced 3 out of the 6.
We've replaced 3 out of the 6.
So we got one more year for 3 years,
Correct.
theoretically.
You
Okay.
got it. And then all of the AC units, all the HVAC units in this building will be replaced.
I see pest removal service is the new one, but OJ's still here.
$1,000.
That is something that we brought on this year. The PD was having a major ant problem.
Ooh.
So we brought in JP Pest to kind of
Sure.
remediate that. So we're hoping if we're going to be downstairs and have sensitive documents or whatnot, we're going to keep that place ant free.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to have stuff if you're not going to maintain it. And that's maintenance, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had like a major infestation. So
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna, okay.
maybe
Okay.
some other things, but
Yeah.
um,
I can't even.
moving forward, cemetery budget. So I sent this out to the cemetery trustees. This is their budget that they gave back to me. So
It's flat.
it's pretty flat. The only thing that they increased slightly was the wages, but I think they ended up
Decreases
taking-
elsewhere. Yeah.
decreasing other stuff to make it be a flat budget.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's appreciated. Great.
Insurance, you'll see we had for property and liability with Primex, that is our 7% cap. We're part of that cap program where they can't
Great.
go higher than that. And so that's why you see that 7%.
Fantastic.
And then the property and liability deduction, I did still keep that at 2. We didn't have any accidents this year, but
Knock on wood. Yeah. The year's not over yet. Right.
PD. Oh boy, okay.
Mhm.
So the PD wages you'll see is at that 5.66%. They are only getting the 4% across the board, but because we've had some new hires and some some turnover this year with different pay rates and pay raises and whatnot, it's reflecting a 5.6 increase, but everyone's really truly only getting
Mhm.
4%.
Gotcha.
You will see that part-time wages is highlighted at that $40,000. So Chad is in the process of potentially hiring a part-time employee that is funded through state and federal grants as part of a forensic kind of drug test program. So we are working out that that employee previously worked for another entity. I have contacted that other entity. I don't want to say it until
Yeah, don't.
we've signed.
No, it's fine.
To figure out how they budgeted for that kind of direct kind of in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I'll have more clarification on whether we have to gross budget for the whole figure or if it can be, I don't know if it needs to be like a special revenue similar to like how like how our special details are. I don't know how that entity did it. So I'll get more clarification on it. So we put the 40,000 in there right now because that's what we spent this year on part-time wages, but we're hoping that whatever we spend out of that will be recouped in this grant program.
This is like the- this- where first year is fully funded, and second year is take that person on.
No, this will be funded every year that person is employed by us.
So we've spent 40,000 in part-time wages already this year without this new employee.
Correct.
Now we're adding this new employee as a part-time employee
We had
and we're
three-
not going to double that.
We had 3 vacancies this year, which created one of our part-time officers.
Gotcha.
working more as a full-time officer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chad is hoping by the end of next month to be fully staffed.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Great.
He has,
Love
like I
it.
said, we just brought on one new officer. He is going to be a lieutenant for us. And then, so he's a experienced,
Great.
licensed, wonderful,
Already trained. That's even
already
better.
trained. He also, is part of this forensic,
Oh, good.
uh,
So if we don't get that grant, will we still hire that part-time employee? Will that bring us to fully staffed?
yes.
So this is a whether we get the grant or not, we just hope we do.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Is he gonna come up and meet us as a board?
Yeah, I hope so. He hasn't started yet. So,
Okay.
yeah,
I know he was just sworn in.
Yeah, he was
because
just
they tried
sworn
to get me
in.
to
yeah.
Come to the swearing in and I was out of town at that.
Yeah, no, he hasn't started yet. He left his former employer. He was with the county and he is taking a few weeks off to get a little bit of a break before he starts.
Oh, not allowed. I'm just kidding. No, that's great.
Starts with
Good.
us. So yes, when he comes.
Yeah,
on-
true.
When he comes on board, we'll make sure to bring him up and introduce him. there.
Excellent. That's exciting. Chad's gonna be fully staffed. He is not gonna know what to do with himself.
What to do with himself.
Wow,
Great. And like I said, I think with this new PD and being fully staffed and
that's great.
this new employee that we have, he brings tons of experience in
It's the new building that did it.
in a very specialized field. He is also part of this grant reimbursement program, so all of his overtime will be covered by the grant program. All
Fabulous.
of his equipment, he comes with hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment for his specialized field. And,
Excellent.
that all comes with us as
All
well.
good stuff.
So
Good, good,
we're gonna
good.
be in good shape with the PD.
Excellent.
But like I said, I'm figuring out how we're gonna make that number, how that number is gonna work for us. So
Mhm.
more to come on that.
Sure.
Cost of telephones and cell phones, e-tickets, you're gonna see that number has doubled as well. That is the cost of the whole kit and caboodle for the new building.
Does any of that cover like installation and hardware? Will that go down next year? Will that maintain?
That will most likely maintain, but it does cover our internet service. So you'll see further down in the budget, we zeroed out the internet service because it's going to be part of the whole package. But I believe that is going to be our new annual cost, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
And dues and employment and training, we bumped that up slightly, knowing that he will be fully staffed next year. We
Mhm.
want to make sure we have enough to cover everybody to be able to take the trainings that they would like to attend.
Sure.
And then we obviously if firearms, ammunition, travel related expenses, those, I can take out that 2 new office. Well, no, we'll leave that in there because there are 2 new officers. Making that just go up by $1,000. Going down to contracted services, you're going to see that our, the computer, care service went up 7%. That's CCS for the new building and for all their computer needs over on that side of things. And then, everything else has either been a reduction or stayed flat, other than the cleaning of the police department. Well, you see is the next big jump. That is the quote we received from the new cleaning company, who also cleans the library and the community center and now town hall, for them to do cleaning there 3 days a week.
It's 2 weeks. Multiply two-
Oh, that's 3 a week. Sorry, it should say.
Should say 3.
No, that 115 a clean is not correct. That was the old person. Yeah, I was gonna say that's an old note. It's 3 times.
Still doesn't add up. So if you do,
So they quoted us because we aren't in the new building yet. They said it's gonna be 28 to 3,000 a month. So we put the 3,000 a month to be safe, right?
oh, so the 115 times 2 is the old
Is the
person.
old-
Oh, okay. Take that, can you take that off of there? That's gonna cause issues. Okay. Okay. And just put in there like 3 days a week or something.
3,000 a month.
3,
They said until they get in there and until they know like what they're gonna do, kind of like and create a routine, like they know they're not gonna have to hit every
yeah.
every
Yeah.
spot every week.
Yeah.
So they just gave us an estimate of the 20.
And I have to say, at the community center itself, I mean, I'm not familiar with how they do at the library, but I know at the community center, they're phenomenal. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
I will say we've only had them for 1 day so far. They started this week.
Yeah,
And we walked in on Monday and we're like,
wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
and they said, we know it's not that good yet. Like we know it, we're like, we know that it's going to get better every time because we're going to focus on different areas.
well, I noticed something I had been watching grow is gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Right. The
Spider-Man.
vestibule, like the little lobby way, the first,
Yeah.
first enter in, that,
Yeah,
yes. I don't believe so.
aren't all contracts that are signed though are conditional upon budget approval at
I
town
don't,
meeting,
I don't
correct?
think it has a term limit on the contract. It's just the services that they will provide at the cost.
So I'm just looking, let's say that
Yeah.
going on. That's
Well, knowing that they already do 2 other town buildings and they came highly recommended from the people who work in those buildings, we were confident that they would do the same job here.
Yeah, that's,
And then the only thing that we added to this that we didn't have here is a dumpster rental and pickup. Because they will have a new dumpster at the new PD, and we talked to Nate and Chad, and we kind of went back and forth on whether they needed a dumpster rental service or not. And we feel like it's in our best interest to go with a dumpster.
oh my goodness, that's one of my pet peeves. Seriously. They don't have food, they don't have diapers, there's no kitchen, they're not cooking for the public, they're not changing diapers. Put it in a dang barrel and have someone pick it up.
Yeah, but
Once
they also
week.
are 24 hours a day, 7 day a week. So there is going to be food because they eat here. Someone's having breakfast, someone's having lunch, someone's having dinner. And if we are going to be this new hub for the North Country, which I think we will be, I mean, I know state police and all other entities are getting excited. I think you're going to generate more trash than what we're currently generating. And right now we need a storage container, right, to store all the trash for the public works guys to come once a week to pick it up. So it's either we have a storage container at our brand new fancy nice building, or we have a
Build a
dumpster.
box. They have a giant garage now, put cans in there. I mean, sorry. Exactly. Let's get the chain gang to take it out.
I think at $2,000 a year to keep that building nice.
How much is the dumpster at the community
We're
center?
using the same company and we have a reduced size and the same amount of pickup. It's twice a month. It's a 6 yard at the community center and we're gonna go to a 4-yard.
How can you remember this stuff? I can never remember this stuff.
Well, because I just talked to them a couple weeks.
Oh,
ago.
gotcha. Dumpster, $185 a month. Okay,
So we're paying less.
I'll figure out. We'll take it out of something. I'll figure it out. Okay, so you're gonna add a dumpster into materials and supplies? What does it go under?
It's already in there. Dumpster rental.
Contracted services.
Contracted
Oh,
services is
gotcha.
right under cleaning of the police department.
Oh, I see it now.
In addition, right below, you'll see 2 new lines that have never been in the police department before either, and that is electricity and
Oh,
propane,
right.
because
It's
they've
been
all
under the
turned
whole
town hall,
building.
right?
Yeah.
So, we got numbers from, our architects LBA
Mhm.
on what they estimated our usage would be for kilowatt hours and also what our usage would be for gallons of propane.
Mhm.
And then we calculated them into what we're paying for the co-op and also what we're paying for, White Mountain for the propane. And those are
Interesting.
the, and again, these are kinds of shots in the dark because we
Sure.
haven't even occupied the building yet, but these are figures that we're hoping to, obviously they'll need to be incorporated from here on out, but we're hoping
Sure.
these are accurate figures. But again, it's kind of a wild guess.
Oh, I mean, you did the best you could estimating because, yeah. Yep. Great.
And then materials and supplies, we did the Staples, paper, et cetera, they bumped that up by $500, and then they also bumped up the furniture and a machine replacement by $500, not knowing, not occupying the building yet, who knows,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep.
so.
Cleaning supplies and paper goods as well. They must have used what was here last time.
They did, it
Yeah.
was under town hall budget, so.
Yeah. Excellent.
And then going down, fuels, vehicle maintenance, we kept that flat. Uniforms, that is also flat. Equipment is also flat. And then
I know you said it's speed.
that's the grant that we just accepted at the last meeting for the highway safety details. That ends up going into our expenditure budget, but we've never actually put it in as a matching, our share of things. So we added that in so you could see the in and out. We also added it into the highway safety revenue, offsetting revenues. Yeah. And then the only thing you don't see there is the SRO grant, which I don't know why I'll plug that number in, but for revenues, but you'll see that the PD's budget went up by the 11%, but a lot of that is based on the new stuff that's unknown. We had
And
that-
we
so-
talked about, sorry, the part-time employee grant, part-time officer wages, should that show as offsetting revenue as well? Am I missing it?
No, it should be, you're right. I don't have a number for that. Offset.
Okay, sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Sorry.
I keep shutting off.
When can you get up and dance every like?
Yeah. Can you get up and
Stand up
dance?
and dance every 5 minutes of the.
Keep that light on?
Yeah, I'll add that in part-time Fed grant when we figure out how that's gonna.
And then
Is-
false alarm fees, did that go up from 250 to 2,500 or is that a typo?
Nope, that went up from 250 to 25.
Oh, fantastic.
If you remember, Chad came in last year, there was a period of time where they weren't
Yep.
done, where they weren't. For some reason, there was a hiccup and they
Yep.
weren't getting done. They are getting done now.
Oh, good.
And the revenue is coming in. So Chad wanted to bump that back.
Excellent.
What he assumed we would be.
Fantastic. Okay, great.
The SRO grant, is that the same as last year or does that reduce each year and
Reduces.
then phase out?
It's going to reduce each year and phase out. So that number is going to be different. And I just put that number together for Deb O'Connor last week. So I have it. I just forgot to plug it in.
Okay,
So
I thought it was gonna be lower by
it is going to be
20-ish
lower.
grand.
Yeah, I think 20 or maybe even 30-ish. I think that's what I budgeted for them. I think they told them to budget.
Okay.
Don't hold me to it, but like 35 next year. So we'll see. But yes, that is going to reduce because
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Great.
Right.
I'm excited for the new PD. Do we have a projected estimate date yet? No.
Well, like I said, I think they plan to hand over the keys to us end of next month. But when, like I said, when we're in and fully operating, I think the officers and probably how they operate will move over sooner than dispatch.
Sure.
Getting
Sure.
dispatch move over is quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
Making sure we have backup for the days that we're moving over, and
Right.
CCS is going to have a team on site, and it's CCS thinks they can do it in a day or two.
Fantastic.
So I don't think it's just making sure that everything's up and running and everything's
Sure.
working and all the kinks are worked out. So
And they move one console at a time anyway, right?
I don't know what their strategic plan is.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like I said, BPS is hoping to sign it over to us, hand over the keys end of next month.
Awesome.
And
Can't wait.
while we're on that note, which is not really having to do with the budget, but while we're on it, while we're talking about it, we talked about potentially having like a ribbon cutting or like an open house. Do we want to do that? Like, do we want to wait until dispatch is in there to do it, or do we want?
Let's
to do it
ask the chief
before?
and see what he recommends. It's
kinda
his baby.
thinking that
So
too.
yeah.
I was thinking at the very least after the holidays, so we didn't have to work around trying to get the holidays mixed in there. But I'll talk to
Talk to chief and
yeah,
let him,
see what he
yeah,
thinks and then do a formal ribbon cutting.
fantastic. Yeah, no, love it.
I think it would be kind of good if the dispatch were in there. You know. If
I
it's a
agree.
Grand
Like the
opening.
formal, like
But
we're
then we
home now.
close it the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think dispatch is going to be like, they're not going to be in there till the summertime, but I think that is just, they need to have more of a strategic approach to getting dispatch in there.
Right, because
Yeah.
we can't just close that, lock up dispatch for a couple of days and come back to
And
it.
come back to it. No, right.
So I get that.
And like, we're also in the process of like, we hadn't ordered any furniture or anything like that. We were kind of waiting to see how
Sure.
things work because we don't have any place to store it in the meantime.
Right.
So it'd be nice if it was fully furnished and like, it looked like a PD for
Yeah,
a ribbon
this is
cutting.
gonna be a desk. There might be a chair here. Yeah, yeah.
Prisoners.
I assume most of the furniture from downstairs is gonna go over there.
I think the bulk of it is, but obviously that space is so much larger.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, the desk that's propped up in one corner by bricks can probably
You probably
stay.
go. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they're going to be selective in some of the things that are not being moved.
Get new bricks. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think the stuff that should go in the trash will probably go. in the
Yeah,
trash.
yeah.
But obviously that building's 3 times the size of downstairs, so
Right.
there's a lot of stuff that will need to be purchased as well.
Sure.
Right down to like paper dispensers and stuff. Like we have so many more bathrooms now. We have
Oh, right. Yeah.
the stuff that you don't really think of
Yep.
that like we're gonna have to buy a refrigerator, like stuff like that we didn't really think of.
We can move their refrigerator. It's fine.
Yeah, as long as it fits. Yeah. So like I said, there is an increase in the
Excellent.
PD budget by the 11%, but most of that is based on the new PD and having to factor in what that's going to cost.
I'm excited for them.
I think they're excited. I know they're excited, actually.
I mean, it's long overdue. So
Are we good? Do you want to move
yeah,
forward? or-
yeah.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Firefighter wages. So you're gonna see firefighter wages have been reduced. We no longer have a 20-hour-a-week deputy chief in-house. And also that was partly where his overtime wages were coming from, because anytime he was working overtime, most of it was related to a fire call. So we were able to reduce his wages and the overtime wages.
Great.
Yes. It's at the bottom. It's that 88, 738, 81. Yep. It's all wages.
It's all of those wages put together, yeah.
Yes.
Write that out.
I can.
On here,
Just curious to see.
No,
No. Oh, yeah, I mean, I can break that out. You got to remember too, we've only paid for 3/4 up to this point.
no,
No,
75.
75%.
It's only
Paid
three,
quarterly.
yeah, 4 times a year, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could break out we could break that out because we would just have to take out the deputy chief out of there and the fire chief, but the bulk of it comes from, because we only had the deputy chief on board for the first quarter of this year, maybe a little bit after that. So the bulk of it is on call. Telephone, so like I said, that wages reduced by just under 8%. Telephone stayed flat, and you'll see we're right on target for that. Employment, training and expenses, we also kept that flat. I do believe that the training and memberships, that we're gonna get a bill for that. I think that comes like their dues for whatever the fire association comes at the end of the year. So you're gonna see that line item bump up a little bit. It's not just the $28 that we've expended so far this year. Dues, travels and conferences, we also kept that flat. Contracted services also is flat. You'll see where you spent a little bit over that this year. But we I don't remember why we went over that. We did something that made us go over that, but I can't remember exactly why. Electricity's flat, propane's flat. We still got a couple more months of that, so that should be eaten up. Materials and supplies, cleaning supplies. We've been waiting for the bathrooms to be finished for a while. And I think they were hoping on spending some of this money for when the bathroom was totally refinished to put whatever they needed in there. So,
Sure.
I think that's coming very shortly. I know Du Bois and King was out there again last week or the week before to do the final review. So now we're just waiting for the finishing touches on the bathrooms to be done. Fuel, vehicle repairs and equipment, that's gonna bump up because the rescue is in the shop right now. So we have, and they also have tires on order that we just haven't received delivery of that yet. So you're gonna see that line item before the end of the year bump up.
No, that'll be gone. They've ordered tires. That'll be gone. Holy
And like I said,
cow.
the rescue is in their shop right
Yeah.
now, and they're thinking that's gonna be anywhere from 5 to 8
Mm.
to get repaired. So.
Was it cost? Yeah, line item. Spend. Really big with the- How much that is.
Yeah, I mean, we could break that out, but that would require us adding. So the way our accounting system works, it goes by the GAAP accounting, exactly.
Mhm.
So it goes by the GAAP numbers. So for us to add line items in there, we would have to manually add individual line items and subsections into each of the GAAP accounting system. So it's possible we could break it down, but it would be time consuming. If there were specific areas that you were in question, we could do it, but to do it for the budget as a whole would be a huge.
Yeah, no.
Back looking, probably going through all of those invoices of say, line 014220-100, fire department wages. You'd have to go into every code,
Right.
every invoice with that code and see whether it was.
Yeah, so essentially we would do a printout of everything that's in that code and then itemize it most
Yeah.
likely by vendor. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the.
That's how it's broken down in the system. So we could do it.
Oh, yeah, maybe go to the line. Yeah, I don't want to. About this other.
Mhm.
I think they're- Yeah. I knew exactly what building where. And,
Mhm.
where the dollars are being spent. Yeah.
Oh, no, like I said, like I said, it's possible, but to get into that minutia, we couldn't do it for every single department for every single line. But if there were areas that you were questioning, we could do it. Like if, like I said, the vehicle fuels, we're really only we're paying the state of New Hampshire for their for their gas station. So we could sort that by vendor and tell you how much they're paying on gas, and then truck repairs that line would be relatively easy to break down. A line like contracted services or wage, it would be different.
Next time, just tell them no.
Well, I'll calculate it if I can, but it's gonna be.
Okay, I'll tell
It's
them
gonna
no.
be Becky that does the work, so.
Don't worry, Becky, I'll tell them no.
And then,
The, what do we call it? That vent system inside the building?
Limo vent,
Climate vent.
yes.
That money is set aside already, correct? To put that in capital reserve?
That money, so we received $40,000 from the Grafton County's ARPA fund
Right.
last year. And we
okay.
said that we were gonna do the truss repairs.
Right.
And the bathroom. And then whatever we had remaining, if we had enough, we were gonna try to do the Plimo vent. I don't think we'll have enough to do the Plimo vent, but we also discussed the Plimo vent system at the capital improvements committee meetings. And we added money in the fire department's a building line for the Plimo vent system. So we do have that money. It's just some of it might come from the ARPA funds, from the county's ARPA funds, and some of it might come from capital reserve.
Okay.
I think the question was, at the time, what is the future of the fire department? Is it worth spending the money for the Plimo vent system if the fire department is going to no longer be in that location 2, 3, 5 years from now? Can that Plimo vent system be moved if we do install it to a new location? I think those were all questions that we wanted to have answered before we pulled the trigger on the system, because we didn't want to spend $30,000 on a system that we can't move if there's no fire department or there will be a fire department always, but in that building.
In that building.
Correct.
I mean, I think that should be a decision we make soon.
Yeah.
So that that system can get in.
Agreed.
I know that that's just not good to have those fumes in the building.
No, it's a health and safety concern, 100%.
Right.
I mean, we should have had that system in that building for a while now. I guess it's just whether we're willing to invest the money in it, if it can't be transferred, I think is the question.
Or are
Are
we
we
gonna
gonna say we're
stay in that building? We just had an engineer company look at it.
Yeah.
We've made all the repairs that they need. I'm thinking that
It could last us a little bit longer.
it's not gonna be 3 years. It's
Yeah.
gonna be much longer than that.
Sure.
And we don't want to go 3 years. I don't want to go 3 years
No.
without putting that system in.
Agreed.
So,
No, I'm on the same page.
all right.
So overall, bottom line for the grand total of the fire department budget, it went down by 4%, 4.3.
Okay.
Emergency management budget, just to save us all the time, it went down slightly because we have totally closed out the hazard mitigation grant, and the only grant that we will be receiving in this or expenditures we'll have is the emergency operation plan that needs to be updated next year. So you'll see that under contracted services, it went
Right.
from 4,000 to 2,000.
So expenses went down 2,000, the grant revenue went down 2,000. So
Correct.
basically
It's a wash.
it's a wash budget. Okay. Public Works.
Public work wages, you will see that looks like it went up 5%, but it's because one of our employees gets a 5% increase in the public works department and everyone else gets 4% due to contract. So it went up slightly, but everyone's still getting the 4% underneath them and they'll be getting the 5%. Overtime wages, he kept at the 20,000. We've only spent 6 so far, but we all know that we had a very light winter
Winter.
last year and we still got another month or so at the end of for this year. So it's kind of a shot in the dark. Phone and internet is flat. We're on target for that. Dues, travels, conferences, he kept that flat as well. All of his contracted services, he also kept flat. And we're gonna be on target for that by the end of the year. Electricity also flat, and we're at the 2,100 out of 35, and with 2 more bills coming, we'll be on
close
target
to
for
it,
that as
yep.
well, and same with heat
Same
bills at
heating, yeah.
41. But we have 2 more of the most expensive months coming, so we'll be fine with that as well. Materials and supplies, he also kept that flat. Fuels, equipment, fuel, equipment, and vehicles, also flat. We'll have another 2 months, depending on the snow. I mean, we might be slightly under for that, but we could be close to that as well. Sand and salt, he's got another load coming, so that's gonna jump up. He's trying to stockpile before the end of the year, so that's gonna jump up. I think he says he spends like $8,000 on a load when he gets it, so that will come up pretty significantly. Vehicle repairs, we kept that flat as well, and then uniforms, that flat as well, and then general repairs flat as well. So the total increase is at 3%, but that is mostly due to the wages.
They really.
They are.
No, gosh, I'm telling you.
We get a lot of bang for our buck in the public works department. Agreed. And they're just so versatile. I mean, they know a little bit about a lot of things, you know, they can usually figure it out. They have a very broad skill set. So like I said, I think we get a lot of bang for our buck.
Like,
She does a good job too. We'll give her a little
does.
attaboy. Moving forward, streetlights, we kept it at the 69. We still got 2 more bills coming in, so I think we'll be right on target for that as well. Solid waste budget. So this is where you're going to see some big increases, but that is because we moved to the 7
days,
7
yeah.
day a week, and that's being mostly funded with the part-time wages. So that's why you see that part-time wages that went from 31 to 55,000. But I think the 7 day a week has been well received overall. So. And then the slight decrease in the full-time wages is just because of the turnover and help. We have different employees at different pay rates for 2025. And then overtime, he kept it the same. In administration, went up slightly, but I think it's just the way we're allocating things, but it's still the 4% for the employees.
contract issues.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% the disposal of the that's our contract with Waste Management. Yeah, and that is set to increase this year, but because our expenditures this year were lower than what we expected to, we think that we can keep it flat and still absorb the increase.
Gotcha. Tub grinder, that's every other year.
Tub grinders every other year, you got it. And then we took out household hazardous waste because we do that every other year as well.
Yep.
I mean, that's a good system, doing each of those every other
Mhm.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Electricity flat, heating fuel flat, but we're going to be on target before the end of the year for those. Same with materials and supplies, vehicles and equipment. Again, he's been pretty good about the equipment repairs this year. Again, doing a lot of the stuff in-house, but we have a piece break on the skid steer or something like that. We're going to eat that up in a minute.
Yeah.
So, uniforms, we bumped that up slightly because of the, we received some complaints I would say, recently in regards to the solid waste employees not wearing Town of Lincoln um uniforms or something that identifies them as a
Oh, gotcha.
an employee. So we bumped that up to make sure we can outfit everyone.
Okay. One person complains and now we're gonna spend an extra, was it 5,000?
Well,
No, there's 2,500 bucks.
2,500
I
bucks.
mean, it's not a bad idea. I just hate the thought of one person going, well, I don't like this. So now we all gotta spend more money to make that person happy. It's crap. It's
Well,
just
we also
crap.
didn't budget accordingly to begin with. As you can see, we're already over.
Right.
So, so it's twofold. It's because we didn't budget accordingly. We also went to 7 days a week, that extra person, an
Mhm.
extra rotation in the uniform cycle.
Okay,
and
that's,
then-
I like that explanation way better
Thank
than
you.
one person complained. So we're gonna. play
Well,
favorites.
buy everyone a sweatshirt and a jacket and to make sure that it can
Sure,
be.
great.
Right.
I still like the second explanation way better.
Okay, I'll make sure to
Thank
do
you.
that at the budget committee level. Wait, get what I said. They do a wonderful job.
The place looks awesome.
Wow.
It really does.
Yeah.
And always smiling and always helpful. And there's always a hello, and I'm not getting called names anymore. So life is good.
Uh,
I love it. Yes,
Always help.
always. Oh, I love it. Yeah. No, I love it. They're fantastic.
A solid crew.
Yeah.
When I say public works, I don't just mean. the
Yeah, no,
traditional
agreed.
public works. I mean, we get a lot of, again, bang for our buck, I think, in all three of the departments, the water department, the
Yes,
transportation.
absolutely. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm with
We'll
you.
keep them around for a little bit longer.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then general repairs and age of equipment. So we kept that flat. We spent most of it. So that budget went up slightly by the 5.5%, but mostly due to wages.
Yep.
So,
Great. I think, can we get through this tonight? You think? We're close.
close.
Say sewer is completely level budget except for the 3.6% increase to H2O innovations, which is a contract.
Which is a contract. And while we're on this subject, that number may change, and it's not going to be due to the contract that we have with H2O, because we have a contract with them and it's based on the CPI, and that's how it
Mhm.
increases. So it is what it is. But we did, on my town manager's report, you'll see it, but we did recently receive our draft EPA permit for the sewer discharge. We did. So I have a copy of it here tonight.
Oh,
I know, it
interesting.
came in right as we were talking
Just
about.
About it, yeah.
So I have a copy of it here tonight. It's like 50 pages, so I didn't print one for everyone, but if you want one, let me know. I'll forward it to you. There are going to be some required changes on our end. There's going to be potentially additional testing that we need to conform with, which we knew with the
Mhm.
PCOSs or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
whatever they're called. We knew that we were going to have to do additional testing. And then there may be an additional improvements that we have to do immediately to comply with this permit before we go for the next one. So right now it's under review with Ray Corbett and also H2O Innovations. They're reviewing the permit, they're reviewing the provisions that they put in it.
Oh, good.
They're trying to formulate a plan on what that's going to mean testing wise and how much that's going to increase our budget for the additional testing.
Gotcha.
And then also a budget number potentially for the improvements that would need to be made. So
Perfect.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. The sewer, I have it right here. Well, the total we have in the sewer rehabilitation line is 1.7 million. But that consists of a lot of different projects.
Right.
So what we have for dredge lagoons and sludge removal is 900,000. Design, construct, upgrade sewer treatment plant, we have 430,000. So that's where that would most likely come up. Yeah. But like I said, we just received it this week and they're reviewing it and we'll know more. So that budget number might change if at least we know what the additional testing requirements are going to be. I imagine the improvements will most
Come out
likely
of the
come out of
CIP.
capital reserve, but the testing will probably come out of operating because there'll be an operating budget expense.
Gotcha.
And how long is that permit good for?
Well, so the comment period, it goes until January and then after, they did say if they find anything glaring that they feel the need that we need to comment on, we'll comment on during that comment period of time. It will be finalized after January. I thought those permits, well, this is the 2012 submission. Am I
Right.
correct? Yeah,
Right.
so, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It might be.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know how long those permits are. I don't know if it's a 5-year, if it's a 10-year, if it's I can't imagine it's longer than a 10-year permit. But I'll figure it out. What they traditionally are. But like I said, I believe this is the.
Yeah, it
2012
expired. It expired 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. I think we are.
It did expire. I thought.
Yes. Yeah, I don't either.
But, I mean, to me, this is a big deal because if we can make modifications in both testing and equipment and still use the lagoon system for another 10 years, that means we don't have to do a major,
Mhm.
Sewer treatment plant.
Right.
Now, then it becomes more important to monitor the flow going in. Because that'll become the tripping point. I mean, up until this point, to be honest. I mean,
Right.
I was kind of more concerned about if we were ordered to get rid of the lagoon system. Didn't matter what the capacity was, because it was gonna run out of permit before it ran out of capacity. But if this lasts 10 more years, that may not be the case.
Yeah, I don't see anything, like I said, I don't see anything right on the cover page that says like a deadline time.
Deadline, okay. We can move on with the budget. Let's see if we can plow through this. Do you have anything long in your town manager's report, do you think?
I don't even know. No, but I do have a couple things we want to go over.
So let's finish up the sewer department,
And then we could be done for now.
and then we'll move on to the town manager's report.
Yeah. sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then are we good with sending up to sewer onto the budget committee?
When is their first meeting,
They're not gonna meet until after the first of the year.
Okay.
Oh, then we don't need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I think we can, we
Okay,
should
then we're
put
good.
Another budget workshop on the agenda for the 6th, when we meet again in December, because that's our next meeting is the
Yep.
6th.
Second.
Oh, second,
Yeah,
sorry, yeah.
thank you.
Whatever that Monday is.
Okay. It is the second. Yeah.
And so I think we should do it again, finish it, and then work out some of the kinks, and hopefully I'll have updates on some of the numbers I don't have updates on.
Great.
At the very worst case scenario, we could even bring it again to the next meeting, which is the
16th.
16th. Maybe that's why I was thinking 6th.
Okay.
And then at that point, we could probably finalize things and then send it off to the budget committee before the holidays.
Perfect.
That sounds good.
Yeah, because I do think that when we definitely need it for next week, because I think some of the special warrant articles are gonna warrant a longer discussion.
True.
Okay. But yeah, so sewer, moving on from sewer, the only thing that changed in the contracted services is the H2O innovation contract that we have, and then believe everything else is flat down the line, so.
Excellent.
Go up by 0.9%.
All right, so that's budgets 1 through 17. Sorry,
16.
16.
Yep.
We'll start with 17 at our next meeting.
Perfect.
Let's break from there.
We did a lot. That was good.
All right, then let's move on to the town manager's report.
Okay. Couple things, the remaining calendar year. On that, repeat the 2025 schedule, so we'll meet again on 12/2, 12/16, and 12/30. Do we want to hold that meeting on 12/30? I am out of the office that day, but there is the Chenard Court hearing that day at 2 p.m. at the Plymouth District Court that I plan to attend then. So we could still hold the meeting on 12/30 or and I can zoom in, or we can postpone it to later in the week, or we could hold it the following Monday on 1/6.
Why don't we wait and see where we're at then?
Okay.
Turn your microphone on.
Get your microphone on.
Thing is off.
That would be bad.
Okay. But we'll just. play it
Becky,
by
can you
ear.
hear me now?
I can, Jack.
All right, thank you.
Play it by ear. Okay, moving on, ARPA funds. So the ARPA fund, the obligation deadline for ARPA funds is 12/31 of this year, and then they have to be expended by 12/31 of 2026. They not only need to be obligated, they need to be contractually obligated somehow. It can't just be, we're going to spend it towards this and give us 2 years to do it. So we need to have some sort of legally binding documentation that says it's going to be spent by that date. I believe the previous plan was to use the funds for the South Peak water tank. I just want to make sure that this is still the intended use of the funds, because I will need to confirm that with the, through their federal portal, web portal.
Just said spent.
They got to be spent by 2026. They got to be obligated by end of this year. But they can't just be obligated.
Gotcha.
like, we're going to spend it next year on this. We have to be contractually obligated.
By the end of this year.
Correct.
And what is that amount?
184 and change, 183 and change.
And moving forward, our next step is going to be with the NEPA review.
Correct. And also we'll also be receiving a revised contract from Weston and Sampson
Right.
for the additional scope of the work.
Are those two numbers going to add up to 184 though? That seems like that won't be 184.
Probably not.
We can't contract someone to build a road or build a tank that hasn't been
Right.
approved.
My only other thought was we could put it towards the PD project, knowing that we are already under contract.
What about the route through water main?
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
And then borrow less.
That's brilliant, I think.
Ah, he called me brilliant. I have
Not that your idea
witnesses.
was brilliant. No, seriously though, if you do, you could take the money, right? Drop it from water project to water project.
100%, yeah.
We have the authority to do that.
Yeah, we technically right now we have, so the way the federal portal works is you had to, we collected it as lost revenue, but then that lost revenue has to be obligated to a project. Right now in the system, the Lincoln water tank is a project in the system, but there's no money obligated to it at this point in time.
Gotcha.
So we could add a project. You could add as many projects as you want, because some people are breaking it down into multiple different projects. So we
Yeah.
can just
Add the
a
Route 3
project,
water
add a
main.
new Route 3 water main and obligate that money to that.
And then take the money that was raised and appropriated for the.
But that was a bond, so we can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be us returning the bond money at the
Right.
end. 'cause
We can
have-
return, we
the money's
can't,
in the bank. at
we
this
can't take the bond money from the route through water main and then spend it on another project, but
Correct.
it could go back
point.
to
It
offset.
it could go back to
Yes.
the bank at the end of the life of the loan.
Yeah.
Or we could do, right, the end of the.
Yeah. Let's do that. Then we
Or
know,
we
then we
could-
know it's spent.
We
Get-
could
could-
make an additional payment. And have them re-amortize,
Amortize, yeah.
whatever that word is.
Can we do a partial? Can we take 80,000 of it to put, or 30,000 or whatever to put towards engineering for the Route 3 water tank? I mean, for the South Peak water tank. And the remainder,
Yeah, we can do whatever we want. We can break it down into as many projects as we want. We just have to obligate that money to those projects, and that can only be spent on those projects
so if we get that quote from Weston Sampson
Mhm.
in
before the end of the year.
before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then obligate that money to pay them for the South Peak water tank, and then whatever's remaining, put it on the Route 3 main.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we get the,
Yeah, but we would need a quote.
we don't have that, yeah. But it's not just a quote, it's a contract.
Yeah, I don't.
We
know-
won't have a contract for
Well,
that.
I don't know if we will know before the end of the year if they're gonna make us do the full data
Yeah.
review or not.
But we will have a contract with Weston and Sampson prior to the end of the year. So let's
Yes,
do that
okay.
out of it. And then put the remainder on the Route 3 water main.
Okay, so West.
And use every dime of it.
And then remaining funds for Route 3 water main.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And he did call me brilliant.
And I will follow up with you just so you know what that contract is with Weston Sampson, so we know kind of how it's gonna be allocated.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, I'll make sure I get on Sam for that. Let's jump to the Route 3 water main while we're talking about it. So Nate and Sam met with DOT and Police Corp to establish a plan to move the project forward, because obviously we ran into a snafu when we started digging in the ground. So we are asking DOT to allow us to cut across the road and install the pipe on the westerly side of the roadway. After first meeting with DOT, they seemed receptive to that idea. The goal is, or our plan would be, to hire a third party firm to do some subsurface investigative work to ensure that we're not going to run into the same thing on the other side of the road. It's going to cost a little bit more money, but we think it's money well spent, so we don't have to re-engage Police to come up and be in the same position next
I
year.
agree.
So the goal is to get that investigative work done before the snow flies, and then formulate a plan, and then come back with Police in the spring and get the project done.
Fantastic.
No questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Loon Mountain Riverfront Park. Brian Norton reached out to me asking about the status of the Riverfront Park project and whether a partnership could be formed between the town and Loon regarding the proposed parking areas at Riverfront Park. He expressed that Loon would be willing to contribute to the construction of the parking areas in exchange for an allotment of spaces during ski season. I explained to him that that the project is obviously still a few years out. And I explained to him that we just submitted the EPA application. We won't hear about that till the spring. And depending on the EPA grant, whether we'd be able to get the remediation work done. But
Right.
I told him that I would bring the information to the board just to get it on their radar, and we could make a decision at a later date. So.
Because the brownfield rent is 2 million. Fine.
Correct. No, I think the original quote for the whole remediation was like 2.2.
Yep.
Right, and that was just for remediation.
Not the construction. Right.
So they want to stick to the. You know what? I mean, my assumption is that weekends and 2 holiday weeks is when they're actually using that.
I would be hesitant only because that is on a major snowmobile corridor. I would love to see that used by snowmobilers. and not kept exclusively for loons overflow. Not that I'm opposed to the idea. I just wanna, I wouldn't wanna. Yeah. I mean, certainly the Scottish Clan and Vacation Week and stuff work with them, absolutely. But I wouldn't want to contract it and not have it available for snowmobilers or cross-country skiers or whatever that might use the other trails.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah. And I'm right. I'm brilliant and I'm right. Yeah.
Set aside a portion of that, that's well marked.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then the only other thing I had on there was the EPA draft permit, but we kind of went over that throughout the budget, that, you know, we're in the comment period. Everyone's reviewing it, the appropriate parties are reviewing it, and we'll know more after the reviews. complete.
Fantastic.
The timing on that looks like that in the budget review process, if there's anything that we need to do and want to do this year,
We will
we
hopefully,
may not know before the budget committee starts meeting, but we probably would know before town meeting.
correct,
So there may be a
amendment on the floor.
placement of, you know, a placeholder on the budget for that line item.
I
Let's-
think,
See, I think
right, I think
1.7 million.
I'm hopeful that we will have a figure in regards to the testing by the end of the review comment, January 13th. And I think that's really truly the only figure that might be factored back into
To an
the
operating.
into the operating budget.
And-
Any improvements that we're going to need to make are going to be expensive improvements, most likely. So that's probably going to come out of capital reserve. But
Okay.
as far as the additional testing, I think we'll at least have a soft cost figure that could be added back into the operating budget. Hopefully before the budget committee commences their meetings. So.
Excellent.
And that's all I got for right now.
Good. I mean, thank you. Great.
All right. I just wanted to bring up a few things in public at our meeting. We got, I guess most people know that the town of Woodstock has put out a proposals for their municipal water system.
Mhm.
You know, what Penachuk that's now running it, operating it, is no longer gonna do that. They're looking for someone else to do it. I received a phone call, from Dave Bowden, who runs our water system, saying, you know, that the selectmen should think about us putting in a proposal for that. I had a discussion with Nate, I had a discussion with Karina. You've talked with the town. Nothing has been decided on that at this point. But I just want to make it public. People know that we've been told. I want to make sure that the whole board knew about it.
Mhm.
And if anything comes from your discussion with Woodstock, you'll bring it back here. And if nothing comes from that, you'll bring that back here, so we can say
Yeah.
nothing at work.
Nothing's come out, right?
Okay.
But just, I just wanted to make it public that we're not yelling behind the scene. We've been notified, we made contact with Woodstock, and Karina and town of Woodstock are looking at it, and Nate has weighed in. We'll see where that goes.
Yes.
The second thing is the ambulance budget request for the town is gonna be a big deal this year. Karina and I just went to a meeting yesterday, or the day before, but yesterday. But anyway, the number for the town of Lincoln went down from a 600,000 number to a $400,000 number. 437,000, and it was 602 or 3, something like that.
And that's based on, is 70% of the call volume, correct? Mm-hmm.
$1,000 increase over what we funded it last year. We have. Rena and I have met with the ambulance board. Twice. Three times. And, to discuss that,
Mhm.
that's kind of where it started at 600 and it's now down to 437.
Yep.
We're pretty comfortable with what we understand about their operating costs, their revenue difficulties, et cetera. And that's the number that we're gonna bring to this board and then to the budget committee. So I just wanted to let people know that that's the number. So 600 that we talked about. Now at 437, that's the number that this town needs to contribute to keep that entity afloat. I also wanted to just make sure people know that there's a open house. It's being marketed through the Chamber of Commerce as a business after hours.
Mm-hmm.
They made it perfectly clear that this is an open invitation to everyone and anyone who's interested in learning about the ambulance service, how they work, how they're funded, what their difficulties are, why they're asking for so much money, how they get paid. To come in, meet them, see the operation and learn about it.
Right.
So that's December 5th. Was it 5 o'clock?
I think it's 4 to 6.
Is it 4 to 6?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
sure.
And I
Um,
know it's out on Facebook. I know it's out.
yeah, it's on the
on
chambers
flyers,
thing, yeah.
Chamber News.
And the only thing I have to add to that is that we did present them with a draft, a template of a budget of what we expect to see, like what we get from our department heads, similar to what we just all went through. And they were very receptive to
Fantastic.
getting that template, and so that they would fill it out accordingly and present it to the boards of selectmen and the budget committees prior to them coming in. And they do plan at the joint budget committee session between Lincoln and Woodstock to be present and do a brief presentation and go over the budget and answer any questions that anybody has. So
Yeah, and we'll be hosting that here on January 15th,
15th, I
whatever,
believe.
the middle Wednesday of the month. And we should prepare this room for
100 people.
much more seating than is here. We may want to take down tables. I mean, the three of us could really sit at one table. Put it in the corner and fill this room with chairs because it's going to be busy.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, you got to think it's going to be the three of you,
Oh, and then we
the
need
three
to
of Woodstock,
talk
and
to
then
budget
the
committees.
12.
All of the budget committees.
Their numbers, I don't. So it's going to be tight.
Mm,
Best we can.
sure. Now, is this number, the 437, excuse me, are we gonna put that in, the budget like we normally do under health agencies, or are we gonna make that a separate warrant article? I'm concerned with putting that in
We are too.
and having that kill our budget totally.
So when we were there yesterday or Monday or whatever day, right now, I don't have it in health appropriations. Right now, I have it listed under special warrant articles.
Gotcha.
And special warrant articles. And we expressed that to them, and they, OJ had said that there's pros and cons to doing it both ways.
Yeah.
For them and to us. But for me, I think it should be its own warrant article. And I
Transparency.
expressed this at their meeting that for the same exact reason as
Yeah.
you do, if this goes under the health appropriation budget, and God forbid someone stands up and says, we're going to reduce the budget by $300,000, $400,000, whatever that number is, it's going to be a very difficult task for you all and myself to not focus in on
Right.
eliminating their budgeting and favoring, I don't want to say favoring, but favoring
No,
their budget
yeah.
request for one of our own departmental budget requests.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So we
Absolutely.
expressed that to them, and I think they understood that, it would put us in a very difficult position to say, are we funding Linwood Ambulance fully, or are we taking money away from our PD, our public works,
Do we have any idea how Woodstock is leaning as far as their?
we would mimic each other. Whatever we did, they would do. And
Gotcha.
we would try to be in unison.
Good, good. I'd like to be in lockstep with them. Yeah. good. Thank you. Do you want to mention on December 2nd, there is a public hearing for the land use fee amendments, proposed amendments? So we put that out there?
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough.
That down again.
I say no.
Interesting. I'd like to see the year end report.
Is-
I have to put it together because what they send us doesn't accurately reflect how we manage our short-term rental system. So like the report that they send to me says that we have 300 and something non-compliant properties. We know that we don't because it's all of the timeshares, all of the motels, all of that. So like I have to go through and create an accurate report, which I can do. I just
I didn't want
Keep
that.
putting it on the
I
background.
just wanted to see this.
that's what you want to see.
Gotcha.
Print you that out,
Let's-
but
let's start with that.
Okay.
And if there's something that's.
there are numbers that are wildly inaccurate, like the non-compliance property ones are.
But we understand that what we consider a short-term rental that we're not registered, what they consider a short-term rental because it's advertised on platforms that they investigate.
Yeah.
They'll never match. They'll always be far off.
Okay, if you just want to see the report that they give us, I mean, I can print that off for you tomorrow.
Can you just email it out?
Yeah.
Just do that.
We have a couple of neighbors concerned about the height of the tower, at the police station. I explained why. Does that meet any FAA requirements for lighting or anything
No,
like
it's
that?
below the level.
Okay, it is.
How it is now is how it will stay. There's no
Okay.
lights going on it. There's no additional towers, antennas, all that good stuff.
And that's what I explained to them. I said, I believe it met the requirement.
It did,
Don't have to light it at night.
correct.
Is for the benefit of the police, dispatching, ambulance service.
You got it.
It's funny you mentioned that when that first went up, that's the first thing I saw for like a week or two. And now I'm thinking about it. I drive that road every day several times and I don't even see it anymore. Yeah.
Second, last time I had mentioned the water running off the roof there. I don't know if you observed everybody. I think they did regrade that area.
They did.
Yeah.
And, we talked about adding additional erosion stone or something.
It was a concern. I
Yeah.
mean, somebody brought to my attention.
Yeah, and we've discussed it with them and, like I said, we may need to do some maintenance and upkeep. Just
Yeah.
to generally our buildings like we do every year, but they did do additional grading and like I said, some erosion control measures to kind of capture that rain.
All right. And I had another concern in regards to the building across the street, the setback. Does it meet all of the setback requirements?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we pushed out the fencing. The Drew, the contractor, asked us if temporarily while he installed the foundation, if we could push back the fencing because he was going to need to go right up to the edge of the property line to get into the earth for water and sewer connections. So once those are connected and the foundation is in place, the fencing will go back to where it is and it should go back to being a usable sidewalk. It's just temporary for the moment.
No, it looked close and some person. That, and I ran it by Karina and she gave me the answers. Just for the record.
Yeah, right now the area of disturbance is right into the edge of the sidewalk, but that's only temporarily until the foundation and the sewer and water connections are in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All I had, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have anything? Okay. Did you have any personnel issue that you wanted to update on or?
I mean, I have a brief, but I think we can do it at the end of non-public if that's what you want to do.
Then I'll open up for public participation. Wayne? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne.
You'll go in there with a head start over the other members, like sitting here and listening to us, so, anyway, thank you. There being no other, public participation, I'll make a motion that we go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A, the one related to real estate.
It's on the minutes, the same one as
I
last time.
know.
I think
I don't
it's
have it.
C or,
I think it's C.
no, I think it's D.
Here's the minutes.
311 ACE.
D.
D.
D. Yeah, C's reputation, yeah. And also person.
And a personnel update. All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you, Wayne, and gentlemen, we'll meet, like, give 2 minutes. No,